The Minnesota Timberwolves were given lofty expectations this season after finishing last season as the 7th seed in the Western Conference and pushing a talented Grizzlies team to 6 hard-fought games. The expectations only grew in the offseason as the team landed former 3-time Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert from the Utah Jazz for a series of rotational players as well as 4 first-round picks and a pick swap. However, as of the making of this video, this same Timberwolves team is a game under 500 and ironically behind the Utah Jazz in the play-in seedings. In this video, we'll talk about the many difficulties the Wolves have faced this season and how they can overcome them in a tough Western Conference to try to make a run. As the season began, the Wolves rolled out a lineup of D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Karl Towns, and Rudy Gobert as their starting 5. Everybody knew it would take time for the 5 to get acclimated to each other's play styles, especially with Towns and Gobert as they had to learn how to share the floor together as 7-footers. It really did look clunky at times and showed that it wouldn't be as easy a fit as some expected it to be. Just as the team had started to be playing better basketball and looked like they were building more chemistry, Towns would go down in late November in a game against the Wizards with a calf strain that was thought to hold him out about 4 to 6 weeks. Unfortunately, Towns, as of the making of this video, has still not been cleared to play basketball and does not have a timeline to return. Even with the season being as disappointing as it has so far, many forget the brightest spot of the season has been the rise of 21-year-old Anthony Edwards. Many had concerns about his love for basketball and work ethic coming out of college and into the draft, but Edwards has quieted them by making his first All-Star game of his young career. Edwards this season is averaging 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 4.5 assists on 56% true shooting on high volume. The thing that has impressed me and other Wolves fans the most about Edwards is how he has stepped up as the leader of the offense and a leader in the locker room. Edwards has again also shown the ability to be a high-level All-NBA defender. Even with Anthony Edwards playing the best basketball of his career, it was just barely enough as the Wolves were still treading water in a thick Western Conference playoff race. As the trade deadline approached, the Wolves' first-year GM Tim Connelly went out and made a move as a part of a 3-team trade with the Los Angeles Lakers and the Utah Jazz. The Wolves would be trading D'Angelo Russell and they'd be receiving Mike Conley, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and multiple second-round picks. To complete the 3-way deal, the Utah Jazz would be sending Jared Vanderbilt and Malik Beasley to the Los Angeles Lakers in exchange for Russell Westbrook and a 2027 first-round pick from the Lakers that is top 4 protected. Many Wolves fans, including myself, had not been exactly thrilled with this trade at the time, as D'Angelo Russell has been having the best statistical season of his career up until this point, and it had also been a huge reason as to why the Wolves were still treading water in the West. However, I do understand that D'Angelo Russell would become an unrestricted free agent this summer, and the Wolves would more than likely not be able to afford him. Especially with the team needing to extend guys like Edwards, who will get a max deal, Jaden McDaniels, who will probably get somewhere in the 4 years, $100 million range, and underrated piece in Naz Reid, who has been a huge reason that the team has still stayed afloat up until this point. In the 5 games since the making of that trade, the Timberwolves are now 1-4 with losses to both the Wizards and Hornets at home, as well as a blown fourth-quarter lead against the Golden State team missing Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Andrew Wiggins. The bad news gets even worse, as of the remaining 19 Timberwolves games, 14 of them are against opponents either in the playoffs or play-ins as of the time of this video, not to mention that only 7 of the 19 games will be played at home at Target Center. As Wolves journalist Dane Moore points out here, the Wolves have went an atrocious 4-8 against the worst 5 teams in the NBA this season. Any team that plans on making any sort of playoff run cannot afford to be losing crucial games like this, especially in a Western Conference where the difference between the 4th seed and the 13th seed is just 4 games. Also like to point out that in the 4 games that the starters have played in since the Mike Conley and D'Angelo Russell swap, the Wolves have been absolutely killed with the starters in with a negative 13.6 net rating in the 54 minutes they played together. This tweet perfectly encapsulates what a disappointing season the Wolves have had up until this point. Expectations haven't been high for this franchise many times, but when they are, they usually come crashing back down to reality. Unlucky injury bugs? Yes. Coaching issues? Yeah. Lackluster decision-making down a stretch of many games? Also yes. The point stands. The Wolves need Karl Anthony Towns back more than ever, as the team is desperately in need of a shot creator after the departure of D'Angelo Russell. Outside of Anthony Edwards and occasionally some quality Jalen Noel minutes, this team doesn't really have another player that they can give the ball and ask to go get a bucket for him. Before I wrap this up, shout out to Jaden McDaniels, Kyle Anderson, Taurean Prince, and Naz Reid for being all NBA level role players. These guys are the definition of players that every team needs to stay competitive when their stars are off the floor. If the Wolves do end up finding their footing when Towns returns and make it out of the play-in, they could again be a tough foe to knock off in the playoffs due to the bench's ability to give them quality minutes night in and night out. And that's going to do it for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed, feel free to give it a like. Comment down below. Let me know if there's anything I didn't mention that you felt should have been brought up. As a Wolves fan, I think they'll be okay and be able to make the play-ins. It's just a matter if they can get out of them with how tight the Western Conference is this year. But as Wolves fans, we're used to disappointment, so we'll see how it goes. But thanks for watching, guys. Be safe. We'll see you next time.